Okay, so Jeremy's asked me to explain how I generally try and get a tone out of each amp. And that obviously will change from to guitar. This guitar we're playing at the moment, it's got single coils, so naturally the pickups are going to sound a little bit more thinner than what it would with a humbucker pickup. Anyway, so normally I run my tones full, my volume full. I start with seeing how much gain I want to have on the amplifier. So this amp has got basically from low gain here, basically clean, to crank it up full. We got distortion. This particular amp doesn't go to gain. It hasn't got high gain on it. It's more of a classic rock amp. So even with this flat out, it's still just a crunchy, what I'd call a rhythm sound. And then if you wanted to play lead on top of that, normally you'd throw an overdrive pedal, the old tube screamer or whatever you use to boost that up. Okay, so we get a volume that kind of sits okay, because you don't want to be getting your tones while the amp is down really low, because as soon as you turn your amp up, the tones are going to change a bit. So you want to set it to about the volume you're going to play, and then start fiddling with your tones. This amp's got 4 tones. You've got treble, middle, bass, and presence. So obviously your treble, middle, bass are going to be your main hit, but a lot of people forget about the presence. The presence is a frequency, or the frequency's above the treble. And sometimes when an amp sounds very narky and the treble is kind of cutting your head off and you back that back, if you don't use the presence, then it just ends up sounding like mud. I'll give you an example. If I turn the presence off, you've got that, and which is all right, but it's a little dull. And then we put the presence up. So it still keeps a similar characteristic, but it just puts a little bit more, presence, but it puts a little bit more high frequencies in there, but not the harsh ones. The harsh ones are generally on these amps in the treble, and if you have a look at the moment, I've only got the treble on 1 at the moment, and to me that's enough. Most vintage Marshalls are known for having a very trebly sound, and this is no exception. But it's a cool sound all the same. So I could turn the treble off or just on, and there's still enough treble there. Even when it was off, I could work with that. But the presence is a big feature. Now, the difference between the presence and the treble often is what kind of sound you want. If you want to get a real vintage guitar sound, then often running the presence lower and using a bit of treble will get you that real. Very classic rock, and very much a guitar sound that would cut through in a mix. If you're like me and I like my sound a little bit more rounded, then I tend to use more presence and a lot less treble. So it's still there. It's not going to cut through as much, but it's a fatter sound because it's still got enough frequencies to get it to your ears without it sounding dull, but it's not scratchy and cutting your head off, which trebles often do. But again, different guitar players, different sounds that they want to achieve, different pickups that they use, everything matters. And one classic thing is that sometimes a guitar sound that you love, you want to hear coming from your amp, isn't always what's going to suit the song. So if you're playing a classic rock song, then you might want to have some trebles in there. You don't want to use that same guitar sound for every song. And in some cases, a scratchy, yucky guitar sound can really work, whether they use it for just 15 seconds in that song, just as a little special thing that's going on in that song, and therefore they're purposely making the guitar sound scratchy, or whether they're going to use it for the whole song and then also blend that with a really big fat guitar sound. That depends. So basically, I'll just I'll go through each frequency and I'll adjust it. So with the mid-range, for instance, I'll normally play an A note, and I'll raise it up, and I'll raise it down until my ear says, yeah, I like that spot. So raising it up, raising it back, dropping it down, and then just finding the spot that you like. Same with the bass. Normally I play a lower note when I'm adjusting the bass. And basically I try and use as much bass as I can before it starts washing out the rest of the sound. Because you do like it. Most people like a full fat sound. I'll do the same riff without the bass. Okay, so in this case, there you go. And so I do that with each frequency. And what I also do is I get down on my hands and knees in front of the speaker and make sure that what's coming out of that speaker is still good, because what I'm hearing now is going to be different than when my ears are down in front of that speaker. And a lot of guitarists forget that. They put their amps on the ground and they adjust their sound, and their heads are well above the amp, and they think it's a great sound. And then everyone who's sitting in front of the amplifier, often the people that are at the front of the stage watching your band, are just getting their ears bleeding. They're getting frequencies that they shouldn't be hearing. So you have to keep that in mind too. And as you get older and wiser, maybe a lot of us start buying guitar amp stands, and we lean them back and we face the amps up, so we can have them cranking for ourselves, but not blowing everyone else away with the volume. So, and you probably don't even need to run with as much volume because it's going directly at you. Anyway, so there's your Marshall going through a Fernandez Strat with some single coils, special single coils. Fat 50s Custom Shop. Okay, so at the moment I've got this set with the preamp on full. Master's only just on. It's only just above 1, but I'm in a unit at the moment. Treble's just above 1. The mid-range is about 12 o'clock, about halfway. I've got quite a lot of bass, nearly up past 3/4, and nearly 3/4 on the presence as well. But again, depends on the room. We've got tile floors in here, so it's going to sound a little bit brighter than rooms with carpet. So you just need to adjust it. But this is predominantly where I've found it sounds all right.